Oh, well, they say 3 times is a charm here, and I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that the power stays with us this time. This is the 3rd time around, so let's hope that the power cooperates and that we don't, get all that going. So yeah, this is just going to be a chill live stream. I obviously won't make those other 2 things public. Now, luckily, I only got 2 or 3 minutes in, so yeah. So just gonna have some chill times with us today. And as I mentioned in my first 2, if you're hearing a little bit of a buzz, that's because I've got a fan right by my face because it is hot. For comparison, it's about 30 degrees Celsius, which is 87, 88 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, that's how it's going to be. I've got a tall drink of ice water that most of the ice is melted now, so it's literally just water, and my hair is just boof. So yeah, I'm going to do my best to get a haircut as soon as I can. Maybe I'll do like the Peter Gabriel and just shave my head, but so it's just going to be a chill night, trying to bring in that good vibes, and we will be, of course, listening to the entirety as long as the stays on. We'll be listening to the entirety of Polygondwanaland from King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, which I'm very excited for. And yeah, I'm also going to be taking questions throughout the evening, so if anybody has any questions they want me to address or talk about, that's what we're doing tonight. And once again, I'm just going to make sure that everything is good to go. Yeah, it looks like we're streaming live, so yeah. And if at any time you can't hear myself or the music, I've got just some Mannheim Steamroller playing right now, so should be hearing that through your nice ear tubes. Just let me know. And hopefully it'll just be a chill night. So I'm going to move some things around here just to make sure that I can see y'all and make sure that the yeah, so it looks like we've got some peeps with us already. I'm very excited. Big Nose Daryl, that's right. 3rd time's a charm. Hopefully this will get that there. And yes, part of the reason why I'm also doing this evening is because Butterfly 3000 is coming out this Friday. So I'm pretty stoked, as it's supposed to be pretty psychedelic, and that's my favorite style of the King Giz expression, second only by their more pastel groovy jazz stuff. So yeah, so this outside of just the reason why King Giz is releasing their next album this Friday of doing this, I'm also doing this because of my patrons. So I'm gonna flip the video here so that I can thank my patrons. This one's actually going out to Gabe. He donated enough that he got himself a live stream, so very excited to have Gabe with that. So if you want to be cool like Gabe and all these cool cats that I'm going to be listing off in just a second, I'm going to actually take a drink first. But well, that's fantastic. Thank you. Hello from Poland. My heritage is from Poland, so that's great. Represent. So glad to have you on here. So I'm going to thank my patrons. As I mentioned, Gabe has donated and he gets himself a live stream. So thank you so much, Gabe. Gabe also has an album review coming out. So I'm still working with Gabe to kind of iron out that. And I've got a couple more that I'm working on. So yeah, I'm hoping to get through a lot of these Patreon albums because I'm really, really, really bad at them. And I'm just going to leave that there. So I'm going to thank all of them, starting with my newest patron, who of course is Gabe, as well as Mark R, who I haven't given a proper shout out yet. So thank you, Mark, for donating to my patron, as well as, and I'm just going to start from the bottom and work my way up to the top of Stefan, Sean, William, Patrick, Robert, Brent, Didier, Triple B, Battery Acid, Depanjan, Austin, T-Dog, Markman40, Tomas, Kelvin, Travis, Joseph, Axel, Jeffrey, Brian, Grace, Mark Foy, Brian, Charles, Joseph, GRV, Rush2112, Joggin Chum, Chris H, Hemulin, Bryson, Ted, Kevin, Rick, Anthony, Isaac Spinobi, Andreas, Aiden, and Matthew. That's all the patrons. And if you want to be cool, like these cool cats, you can head on over to my Patreon. I've left the link down in the description. If you feel inclined, you can get yourself a really awesome thing like this. So I'm going to bring it back to the moneymaker, who's this guy. And that's me. I'm back. So, yeah, this is going to just be a chill time. So put your questions in the chat. I'll be commenting on the album as we go forth. And if there's ever a lull in my conversation or the chat, we'll just groove to some good tunes. It looks like, Lucas, you've never actually heard King Gizzard before, so this is a great introduction, as this is my favorite album from them. So, yeah, get ready for some good times. As we start off with Polygondwanaland. Now, I consider this, before I do start, I'm not going to go track by track, because I do consider this as like a single piece of music rather than individual tracks. So we're going to start off with the individual track of Crumbling Castle. So I'm going to put the microphone really close to the speaker there. And let me know if the audio is either too loud or too quiet. As it starts off in a very funky, fresh mood, you know, we got that rhythm section being laid down, and then all the harmonies that build off on top of that. I personally think it's a great way to start off the album. You know, we just got that very simple boom, 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 and you've got that like really nice, like almost harmonizing beat in there. I think it's like a syncopated beat. I'm not really up on that. But yeah, all those like hypnotic vocal works. And we have that really like beautiful guitar works. Like I love that style of guitar that we have on that. And then kind of like the explosion and the buildup of songs. It's such a great one. Yeah, and that drumming work. Like, I know they've got two drummers on their hands, but it's a great way to build up on the music on there. And I like how they're switching their vocal works at this point from that more, like, harmony focus, very, like, almost humming, subdued, to much more punchy vocal works. You know, just a single guy. There's a little bit of harmony going on, but it's straight to it. So yeah, it's very smart how they're able to kind of blend this track so far. Yeah, and Big Nose Daryl is saying hopefully Butterfly 3000 is just as good as LW. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed LW, and I'm kind of hoping that Butterfly is going to be a little bit better. So yeah, it's going to be good. I didn't realize that there was a Mush Tunes remix of the album. I'll have to dig that up if you want to. Alpha Penguin, if you want to like leave a link to that project so that our viewers can find out about that, because that's the first time I've heard about that. So we have a little bit of a musical breakdown here. I love the harmonies within the guitars. You know, you can still feel that microtonal banana kind of like still there in the background. And then we're back into the main theme of the track, which is really nice. So, yeah, it's very funky. You know, it's psychedelic, but very funky. Yeah, and I still love the like the smaller harmonies, because you still have that kind of like that vocal works that's going on, if you listen close enough. Okay, we're coming back to another little musical interlude that I particularly find as just mwah. Again, I love that rhythm. It's so tight, yet so loose. I know I contradict myself, but it is. It's very tight and loose. I love that like synth that's going on. We're kind of like back at the beginning again. It's almost like a whisper song. Yeah, like I said, don't be shy in terms of that chat. If you want to ask a question, comment about what we're listening to, keep them coming. I mean, it's interesting. I love when bands have two drummers, and on the one hand, it doesn't sound like they have two drummers, but on the other hand, it kind of does. So I'm just going to move this over a little bit just so I can get some more airflow. Come here, buddy. I'm going to use you as a little placeholder. Yeah. Okay, here we come. I love this. It's a nice little build-up before we get back into the song proper. It's a nice little interlude. It's a nice little interlude just to build up that. Like, I love how everything is being harmonized with itself. Like, the lead singers are harmonizing themselves, the lead, like, guitar works are harmonizing, like, everything is being in harmony. Like, I think the only thing right now that isn't being harmonized in one way, shape, or form is the synth. And it's kind of providing, like, the background sound. Yeah, Lucas, I agree. Having two drummers really spices up the rhythm dynamic. Like, we have two guitar players in, like, almost every other band. And more often than not, you have, like, a dedicated keyboard player, as well as, like, sometimes the lead singer doing a keyboard. So I'm surprised that they don't have two drummers. Like, King Crimson tours with three. So, yeah, I think that's kind of fun. Get myself comfortable again. Don't have proper desk chair. What are you gonna do? Joshua, you are quite right. Eric Moore left, so they only have one, but they had two during this recording. So, yes, you are quite right. They only have one now. It's sad. But yeah, during this recording, they still had two. And again, we have this build-up now that they're reusing. Then we come to the next little musical play out. Again, I'm loving the overuse of synth on this. So great. Pinsky, thank you so much. Putting out a donation. That's fantastic. Huge thank you and shout out. Really do appreciate that. If you have anything you want me to mention or address or talk about, please let me know. I will be very happy to do so. Okay, so it's interesting too. Like, I know King Giz is not a. They don't shy away from the the longer tracks rather, and I mean Crumbling Castle is one of their longer tracks. And yeah, I love that it sets the stage. I love that it provides a kind of a little bit of a build-up for the overall album. And even though Crumbling Castle starts on a very high note, I think they reach higher peaks throughout the album. So I love that it starts off setting the groundwork for everything to be built upon. Matthew is saying that there's an alt-metal prog band, Chorus of the Empire, in the 90s that had two drummers. Oh, that's very good. You don't really hear too many 90s prog bands, so I might have to check them out, as I'm always interested of hearing like 80s and 90s prog bands, because yeah, as I mentioned, there's not a whole lot of them. Okay, so we have a little bit of an interlude, and now we'll get to a famous sound that I think most King Giz fans will know. There it is. They use that sound quite often, especially within a vocal work. I also love that the band loves to use like a single word or two words over and over and over again, like Rattlesnake and Crumbling Castle and all those. It's almost like a mantra, you know. It's almost like a meditative thing, like where you're meditating on one thing. It sounds like some Tool sound effects. Yeah, I can kind of hear that. Especially in their early days. Maybe not so much now. Yeah, and I love this little explosion near the end of the piece. Like, they're like, okay, we're getting to it. We gotta just, like, hammer it home. considering I believe this is their 4th album in the 2017 purge of albums they did, like 5 albums. So like this is near the end of that stretch. And like the fact that they had this much energy and this much creative flow, like, I love that like mad dash to the end. It's such a rewarding listen. Gabe, I'm glad you can join us. Gabe is here, the man of the hour, so to speak. Gabe was the one that donated graciously and gets this live stream, so glad you can make it. We're just on a Crumbling Castle, coming to the end of it. So I love this ending little piece where it's just this menacing, like, it's got that stank face, that it's so dark and gnarly. Like, it takes me back to, like, that acid metal and that, like, I'm thinking of, like, Sleep, like, early Black Sabbath, that, like, really deep, those, you know, the chug rock. It's a really deep and menacing kind of ending to Crumbling Castle. In my mind, I always pictured that ending as being like a separate song, but I guess it is kind of the ending as we transition into the second track of the title track, actually, of Polygondwanaland. Let's see here. They sometimes enter the hypnotic areas of... Oh, okay, cool. That's great. Dude, this is really cool. Really experimental prog. What year was this album made? 2017, I believe, is the year. Yeah, 2017. This was the year that they actually released 5 albums, as I mentioned before. So this is the 4th album within the 5-album suite that we got. So yeah, Anthony, good to see you. Glad you can make it. We're just having some good vibes right now. So I love the groove of the title track, and I also love how it shifts and changes. So we're going to have some... It's pretty funky. I love how the groove goes for this one. And here we go. I love this. I love the flow of this track. You know, it's a little bit more on the mellow side. It's a little bit more on that, like, dream on, float along kind of an idea. But it still has a really good chunk to it, a really good crunch. So it's got a lot of bounce to it as well. I love that little... Because most of the time they go into the chorus when they do that, but I like how they kind of revitalize it and continue on with the verse. Again, I love that groove. I love the rhythm section of this. Like, it's pretty simple, but it's also, it makes for a really good time. The overlay of the synths, very fun. And just as I say that, they just kind of go into the flute and the guitar. You know, it's very early Genesis to provide the flute within a rock context. I guess you can also say it's Jethro Tull, but I always figure Jethro Tull is using it as more of a bombastic suite rather than a mellow, atmospheric thing. So... I love the bounce. Love this bounce. And this is where like the album begins to just kind of float into each other's songs as we go from the title track into the third track of Castle in the Air. So it's just very seamless. And again, it's the rhythm section. And we still have a little bit of the carryover of the narrative styles from Murder of the Universe. But I think it works here because they don't overuse it. Just a little bit of an aside. Kind of putting context to the track, I think. Oh, that rhythm. Love that rhythm. There's a very good reason why this is my favorite King Giz album. It is interesting now that I'm thinking about it because I'm making quite a number of comments. Reading over the comments on some of my live streams, especially when I do live streams of albums, I constantly get people saying, why are you talking so much? Let us listen to the music. I'm like, if you want to listen to the music, listen to the music. Like, you came here to find my opinion about it. So of course I'm going to do it. This is the album you would start off with if you hadn't heard of their stuff. I would. Yeah, this one I think is their best work, and it's a great introduction of some of their styles. Now, keep in mind, each of their albums are completely different, and it's very rare to find an album that is similar. They do have certain albums that are kind of in the same style of, but for the most part, they are quite different. But this, I think, holds their best music and is probably for a prog fan, their most proggy outfit. So yeah, I think this is a great starting point. You can't go wrong with this one. Yeah, I would honestly start with this one, Nonagon Infinity, and Paper Mache Dream Balloon. Those are my two. Yeah, Anthony makes a very good point in that Gumboot Soup is a great starting point because of the variety of stuff on there. There's no like unifying theme of that one outside of it being a collection of their tracks that were ready to be released. And it does cover the breadth of their styles. So yeah, Gumboot Soup is another one that I love. Like, I love the opening track of the track is escaping me, but the opening track from that. I'm gonna kick myself. Beginner's Luck, that's it. Alright, and again, we've gone straight into the next track of the Desert Dunes Welcome Weary Feet. It flows right into one another, right? So I still consider this all one track, you know? Especially, like, it has that all kind of that same feel to it. Like, even though we're in a different track, it still feels the exact same, while still kind of evolving and changing. And I love this little dip coming up. Here it is, here it is. I love it. It's just like a little dip into the minor chord as we're like floating along on a major piece. It's a nice little accent. And we're going to get into some more experimentations in terms of the synth and overlay. I think it's really good. Looking forward to their new album. I am indeed. I'm very looking forward to it. I like that most of the promotional stuff is teasing that it's going to be more psychedelic. So I'm very excited about that. That's part of the reason why I'm also doing this. So we're getting back to that same theme again, but in a little bit of a different context. And this is where it starts to like, got that overlay of the different synths kind of playing off one another. Coming up to that sound again. Oh, not yet. I might have jumped the gun in that sense. But now, again, we're in that really nice groove. Yeah, this one's very hypnotic, you know? It's very soothing. And I love, like, sitting down and listening to it. All these small pieces begin to, like, show themselves. Now, that little interlude there, so fun. Alright, we're coming into Inner Cell. Even though I said I wouldn't be going track by track, but this is how I do. Kind of picking up where we left off, and I think on the vinyl, I think this is where you actually turn it over so that it starts off with Inner Cell, which is kind of, it makes sense because this is like the first real break that we've had. Ooh, excuse me. Bit of a drum work, and then we're back into it. Again, it's that groove that I love of this. It's just so... Yeah. Yeah. I love that they give space, you know, and then it's tight when it needs to be, and I love this. It's just so smooth. And that little bit of an overdub there. Yeah, Sleepless, I love the trickiness of the rhythms on this album. It is very tricky. Yeah, you think you have it down, and then there's just like a little bit extra, a little bit of an extra bit there. And again, you've got that fun sound waves in the background. Just kind of help give us a little bit more of a flavor to it. That guitar work. Yeah, it's really, really good. I'm like that guitar work in it. I love this part. Just it's just so good. So groovy. excuse me. Ah, I love that. And then it goes right into Loyalty. So that very hypnotic, very like soothing track continues it with Loyalty. And this one is very synth heavy. Again, this whole second side is very like soothing and hypnotic. And I love how it's slowly changing, but still keeping it within that same like note sequence. Like it almost reminds me of something like Pink Floyd would do around like Dark Side of the Moon and Wish You Were Here, you know? Even a little bit on Animals, like in the middle of Dogs. It's all this blending of different sounds in a very mellow way. Like I've talked about everything, I still... that bass... Again, it's becoming a little bit more like mechanical and Android-like. I think I love that like almost Mellotron sound that we have here. Like it's very soothing. Like we're getting to like islands in King Crimson. I wish they would use more Mellotrons like this. Yeah, you can definitely hear the Pink Floyd influences on this one. A little bit of Ozric. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with those. Although it sounds familiar. Okay, here's that bass. Love that bass. I love the band like gave space for the bass. You gotta give some space to the bass. Should almost put that on a t-shirt, right? Give space to the bass. Here we go, here we go. Ah, that flute. Ah, love it. Love it, love it, love it. And then, of course, we go into... These next two tracks are always hard to pronounce. Horology. It's a lot of O's. But that picking on the guitar. Like, these next three tracks are my favorite off the album. Like, just the groove and everything about it. It's very, very good. See, it's that tricky rhythm because you think you get it, and then it leaves you. And again, it's those synths in the background that really make my ears perk. Ah, see, I think you get it, and then it leaves you. Such tricky time signature. Nope. Again, you think you get it. See, I wish there was a little bit of a trend in the late 2010s with this style of prog, and I really wish they continued it. Like Sid Arthur used it really well. Okay, this is one of my favorite parts. All right, coming into Tetrachromacy. Tetrachromacy. Yeah, I love that build where we had within that like 3-track suite, starting with the Inner Cell, going into Loyalty, and right into Horology. Damn, those are so good. So friggin' good. And as I was saying before, there was like a small movement of bands that were doing this type of music. And Sid Arthur was doing it very well, but then they just kind of fell off the face of the earth, which is a little bit of a shame because they were really good. They only put out, I think, 3 albums, and their first album was fantastic. The second album kind of flavored a little bit, and the third album wasn't great. So yeah, I wish that we had captured more of that because it was such a good sound. You know, they didn't rely on flashy gimmicks or whatnot. It was like very musicianships. I love the groove. Again, I know I say that about this album a lot, but I do really enjoy the groove. That rhythm, that beat. Such a fun sound. Oh, there's that harmonica creeping in that they would then perfect on Fishing for Fishies. Cujo recently got into KGLW. Think Quarters is my favorite thus far with Murder. Good choices. Those are great choices. Both of those albums cover quite a vast selection of music. I love the like over effects. Like it's got this like wow 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 kind of a, and those fun sounds. Coming into the last track of Searching. Oh no, sorry, not the second last track of Searching. The fourth color is the So this one's very... I'm loving the more rhythmic section of this one. Yeah, I think... Orzic tentacles. I mean, it sounds so familiar. It sounds so familiar. I'm going to have to check it out after this, because I think I've heard them before. Yeah, I love the rhythm section of this one. It's a great build up to the final track of the fourth color. Again, this is where they're using those two drummers. Starting to build itself back up again. I love how mellow this is as it's like starting to build itself back up. It's very grooving.
Oh, excuse me.
Again, those overlays of like different sounds, especially within the synths. Yeah, Anthony, it's got a very nice dance beat to it. Like it's, again, hypnotic is the word I would use. You know, trance-like. I love that rhythm. That rhythm section. Listening to this part on headphones with all the different vocals is a treat. Because, like, it just goes back and forth the whole time. Coming into the last track. And I love the vocal work on this one, as like each bit is like playing off another one, so it's almost like, you know, it should be one person going, but the way they've mixed it sounds like a bunch of call and answers. Gotta build it down. Yeah, it's definitely a shift. And again, unfortunately, I can't do it justice because you do need to listen to it on headphones. Here it is. Just the way that they put that going back and forth is just a mind trip. It's so good. Early Floyd for sure. Lots of Sid Barrett. You know, because I know Sid Barrett liked to do these kinds of things. Or even like some of the like soundtrack stuff from like More and Obscured by Clouds. They were playing a lot with that. We're coming into the final stretch here. Again, I love this build-up that they've got going on. That little bit of a mess, just a little bit, enough to keep you on your toes. And I love that they, you know, have this final little ending, and they're like, we're not done yet. We've still got a little bit more in our tank. So it gives you enough to kind of breathe after that. I'm like, okay. Gives you a nice breath. Just like, yeah, this is really good. As I mentioned, this is my favorite one of theirs. Yeah, you kind of like gives you a little bit of stretching room before they dive back into it for the last little bit. It's almost like way back in the day when you had hidden tracks. There we go. And they're back. Yeah, just a really great... really great, like, ending piece there. Matthew, what's my favorite hidden track? That's a good question. And that's it. That's Polygondwanaland. So I'm going to stick around for just a couple minutes as I think about what is my favorite hidden track. Let's see here. What would be a good... Just going to put that on. Put on some Mannheim. Let me think. I mean, the one that's coming to my mind immediately is like Our Lady Peace did one for Spiritual Machines, but it was more of like a play. Like they did this kind of like android talking to itself about like the spiritual machines. That's the one that's mainly coming to my mind right now. Trying to think of another hidden track. I know Tool did one, but it was more for like counting up the track lengths until it got to like 69, which I thought was kind of funny. Yeah, I'm trying to remember of any other hidden tracks that I can think of. Those are the main ones that are coming to my mind. Might have to do like an actual video about it later on. Yeah, that's a good question. So if anybody has any other questions, let me know before I tune out. And while everybody's kind of thinking that, I do want to extend a huge thank you to my patrons, because they're the ones that are doing that today. Like, this is why I do it, and this is why I love to do it. And they also help keep the electricity on, because, well, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. There we go. There's the good things. This one's going out to Gabe. So thank you, Gabe. I believe he still might be in the chat. If he is, say hi. And I want to thank all my other patrons. This time I'll start from the top and work my way down. Starting with Matthew, Aiden, Andreas, Isaac, Anthony, Rick, Kevin, Ted, Bryson, Hemulin, Chris H, Joggin Chum, GRV, Rush 2112, Joseph, Charles, Brian, Mark, Grace, Brian, Jeffrey, Axel, Joseph, Travis, Kelvin, Tomas, Mark, T-Dog, Austin, Depanjan, Battery Acid, Triple B, Didier, Brett, Robert, Patrick, William, Sean, Stefan, and Mark. So thank you, everybody, for coming on. Thank you so much, Gabe, again, for tuning in and suggesting one of my all-time favorite albums, and my favorite album from King Gizzard. Very excited for their next release coming out in a couple days, actually. So that's really cool. And if you want to be cool like Gabe and all these cool cats, head on over to my Patreon, patreon.com/notesreviews. You get live streams, you get album reviews, and you get the satisfaction of knowing that you've helped out your fellow man. And what could be better than that? I don't think the music's actually playing. That's interesting. Oh well. But yeah. Yes, that's about it. I'm going to bring it back to the moneymaker. Oopsies, too far. There we go. There's me. So thank you all for tuning in. It was fantastic seeing everybody. A great conversation going on, and just a fantastic album overall. So I hope everybody has a safe night. I hope everybody stays cool. And I think it's just going to be a good time. Okay. Take care, everybody. I've got a new video coming out tomorrow, so I'm keeping it on the live albums because I've been listening to a whole bunch of them, so that's where I'm at. So yeah, thank you, everybody, and I guess until next time, notes out.